Welcome to Whiskey Cast, cask strength conversation featuring news and interviews from the world of whiskey. I'm Mark Gillespie, and this is episode number 1136 for November 23rd, 2025. Coming up in a few minutes.
We zigged when you had the zag, and we've managed to have 440 products back at the show. And last year we had 443. So in product count we're about the same, but obviously we don't have the bourbon.
This weekend I'm at the New Brunswick Spirits Festival in Fredericton, New Brunswick, which, like many Canadian provinces, is officially boycotting bourbons and other American whiskeys. Bourbons have been a mainstay of this show every year until now, so how do you put on a whiskey festival without them? We'll have the answer on this week's Whiskey Cast in depth. We'll also hear from the Bard of Scotch whiskey, singer-songwriter Robin Lang, and I'll taste some whiskeys from the weekend in the What I'm Tasting This Week department. The news is next on this week's Whiskey Cast, whiskey's longest-running and most awarded podcast series. Crafted with time, shaped by nature, perfected by generations. From Yamazaki to Hibiki to Hakushu, every drop of House of Suntory whiskey is a reflection of where it comes from. House of Suntory, this is Japanese whiskey.
Enjoy responsibly. Suntory Whiskey Single Malt and Blended Japanese Whiskey. 43% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2025 Suntory Global Spirits Import Company, Chicago, Illinois.
Gifting season's right around the corner. Luckily, you don't have to overthink this one. Dewar's 12-year-old, finished in first fill, unrinsed bourbon casks. It's the kind of gift that makes you look good while making them feel special. Stick around. I'll explain.
Let's get started with the week's news. It's brought to you by the Dalmore. Diageo is pumping the brakes on production again, this time at its Roseisle Maltings in Speyside. No new barley will be malted for the short-term future. A Diageo spokesperson told the Press and Journal newspaper that the shutdown was caused by, quote, the nature of the Scotch whisky industry at present. The newspaper quotes sources in Speyside as saying the maltings will not be taking in any barley from local farmers next year, but Diageo says plans for the future of the maltings are still being discussed. In addition, Baird's Malt has closed its Pencaitland maltings in the lowlands due to a decline in demand for malted barley. 19 people will lose their jobs as a result. 42 jobs have been saved at Eden Mill Distillery in St. Andrews after the distillery went into administration last week. Private equity firm Ruby Capital acquired all of the distillery's assets for an undisclosed sum and plans to keep the distillery operating. The receivers blamed a 12-month delay in the opening of Eden Mill's Visitors Center for causing a cash flow crunch that put the distillery into administration. U.S. President Donald Trump quietly lowered tariffs on many imported food and drink items this week. However, wine and spirits were not included. European leaders are meeting Monday with Trump administration trade negotiators, and the removal of wine and spirits tariffs is high on their list of priorities. European wines and spirits currently face a 15% import tariff when exported to the U.S. UK Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves presents the government's autumn budget Wednesday, and whiskey industry leaders are hoping for a reprieve on excise duty. The UK has been raising excise duty on spirits in line with inflation, but Scotch Whisky Association leaders say those tax hikes are actually contributing to inflation. Alberta is looking at an official definition for Alberta whiskey. The CBC reports the province's Red Tape Reduction Minister, yes, that's a real title, has been tasked with creating legislation to define Alberta whiskey in much the same way that Kentucky bourbon and Tennessee whiskey are defined. Dale Nally says he's going to leave definitions of production and processes up to distillers, who range from tiny craft distillers using pot stills to the massive Alberta Distillers facility in Calgary, which makes Alberta premium Canadian whiskey. Nally also wants to create an Alberta whiskey trail featuring the province's distillers to attract some of the 2 million visitors to Alberta annually. Meanwhile, one of Canada's top whiskey makers is retiring at the end of the year. 40 Creek whiskey maker Bill Ashburn has been in charge of production ever since the distillery opened as part of the Kittling Ridge Winery back in the early 90s. Some of that first whiskey still exists and is part of the blend that makes up Chronology, Bill Ashburn's Swan Song. 40 Creek's Chris Thompson explains.
This is 4 of his very best whiskeys, one from each decade of his tenure at 40 Creek. So it includes a 1992 single malt, literally before we were 40 Creek. So some of the very earliest whiskey stocks that we ever laid down. A 22-year-old corn whiskey, an 8-year-old rye, and a 4-year-old corn whiskey aged all in new oak, just to kind of round things out a little bit. It is a spectacular expression.
Now, Bill's retiring at the end of the year. What are you doing to replace him?
And Bill loves to say this. We literally have product development people. There are 7 product development people from various aspects of the Campari global business that are stepping in to help continue the great legacy that is making amazing 40 Creek whiskeys.
And what's the Niagara Triple Reserve? That's new also, right?
It is. So for 19 years, we've done these really great annual small batch releases. Niagara Triple Reserve is the very latest. What I love is, and some of my favorite 40 Creek whiskeys of all time are the ones that bring us back home. So this is a fabulous whiskey that has been aged 3 times, left at cask strength, and the finishing is done in Niagara Cabernet Sauvignon and Niagara Cabernet Franc barrels. Yeah, so I mean, Bill was a winemaker for years before he ever made a stitch of whiskey. Our founder John Hall was a winemaker for years before they ever made a stitch of whiskey. My favorite 40 Creeks always have these really great little wine/Niagara influences to them. It's to me the ones that bring us back home. That's who we are.
40 Creek Chronology is the distillery's most expensive release ever at $299 Canadian a bottle. I'll have my tasting notes for it later on. Other new whiskeys of note this week. Bardstown Bourbon Company has unveiled its latest distillery reserve release, finished in Calvados brandy barrels. The Normandy Calvados brandy barrel finished bourbon will go on sale Black Friday at the distillery's shop in Bardstown and its Louisville tasting room for $99.99 a bottle. I received a sample the other day. I'll have my tasting notes for it soon at whiskycast.com. Country music star Riley Green is the latest musician with his own line of bourbons. He partnered with Morningside Brands to create Duck Club Bourbon. They're launching with 2 expressions, the flagship 92-proof Duck Club Wheated Bourbon, priced at $29.99 a bottle, and a 110-proof rye-focused high brass edition. The price for that one is $39.99. The whiskey will start out in 7 southern states this month, with a wider rollout next year. It's also available online through the Duck Club website. Unrefined Whiskey is launching with a partnership with Texas A&M University Athletics. The distillery's founders are all Aggie alumni, including former TX whiskey distiller Rob Arnold. The whiskey is available now at Texas retailers, and a visitor's center is set to open in College Station next spring. Turning to Scotch whiskey now, Glengoyne has released the 11th batch of its Teapot Dram, named for the teapot at the distillery that used to hold drams for the night shift workers. It's matured exclusively in first-fill sherry casks and bottled at cask strength. Just 3,000 bottles will be available at 125 pounds each through the Glengoyne website and distillery shop. Glengoyne is also celebrating the return of its 18-year-old single malt to the U.S. market after several years away. Sister Dram Smokehead is out with its oldest expression in the U.S. Smokehead 15-year-old is priced at $69.99 for the Isla single malt. Tomatin has released its latest edition of Kubakan, its peated single malt. Creation number 7 is the latest edition in the Creations experimental series of whiskeys. It's matured in a combination of virgin American oak and Pinot de Charente Rouge red wine casks. It's available in the UK and select export markets for 45 pounds a bottle. The Macallan dropped its longtime favorite cask strength edition several years ago, but is out now with a new 110 proof edition. It's a 12-year-old single malt matured in sherry-seasoned casks, and it's available for pre-orders through the Macallan website. There's no word on pricing. Finally, Whisky has one of its first AI-powered companions. Compass Box has introduced Pixis, an AI-powered conversational tool that works in multiple languages and can even be reached by text or phone. Naturally, it'll guide users through the Compass Box portfolio and adapts to each user's level of knowledge. You can keep up with the latest whiskey news all week long at whiskycast.com and in the WhiskyCast community app. The news is brought to you by the Dalmore.
Hello, Richard Patterson here, Master Distiller, Master Blender for the Dalmore. You know, whenever the team and I are in the world sharing our exceptional single malt, we like to keep in touch with Mark Gillespie and the latest news from WhiskyCast.
Let's open up the calendar now and see what's happening around the world of whiskey. With the holidays upon us, there's a lot happening around distilleries. The Whiskey Exchange has its Christmas barrel top tastings on December 4th at its Covent Garden and London Bridge shops in London. Maker's Mark has its annual Star Hill Farm Holiday Open House on December 12th in Loretto, Kentucky. Buffalo Trace Distillery has events every night from December 4th through the 31st in Frankfort, Kentucky. Woodford Reserve Distillery in Versailles, Kentucky has holiday brunches on December 7th and the 14th. Finally, West Fork Whiskey Company in Westfield, Indiana has a Breakfast with Santa event coming up on December 14th. If you're organizing a whiskey event, let us know about it. We'll add it to the calendars at whiskycast.com and in the WhiskyCast community app.
Hey again, it's Gabriel from Jewers. Every holiday has that moment when the food's done and the talking, laughing, and sipping begins. That's where the perfect gift shows up. Jewers 12-year-old. Finished in first fill, unrinsed bourbon casks, and crafted by 6-time Master Blender of the Year, Stephanie McLeod. It's the highest-rated 12-year blended scotch out there. A gift that speaks for itself. Because holidays aren't about the gifts we keep, they're about the ones we share. Please enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Jewers is a trademark. Imported by John Dewar & Sons Company, Coral Gables, Florida. Blended Scotch whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume.
WhiskyCast In Depth is brought to you by Glendalough Irish Whiskey. The trade war between the U.S. and Canada is in its 10th month, with all but 2 Canadian provinces officially boycotting American whiskeys in their provincially run liquor stores. There's no end in sight, and that begs the question, how do you run a whiskey festival without any bourbons or other American whiskeys? I put that question to New Brunswick Spirits Festival Chairman Frank Scott.
Well, it's challenging, let's put it that way. We were disappointed just like everyone else, and we've been nurturing the bourbon market in this area for a long time, and we've got a lot of support from the bourbon suppliers, and we've seen so many representatives from the distilleries in Kentucky and Tennessee. And just to have the door kind of closed on them and us, it's been challenging and disappointing, and all we can do is really hope that this ends soon so we can get back to business again and we can welcome all of our bourbon suppliers back to the show.
What impact did it have on the show in terms of the loss of distilleries that you would normally had exhibiting here?
Well, we've had some time to kind of figure out what we were going to do. Obviously, it was a shock, but it happened a few months ago, and we were like everyone else, just following what was going on in the press and the media, and then the government liquor stores and what their decisions were going to be. And once we got that information, we decided to open up the festival to some suppliers that have never been here before in the United Kingdom. So we invited 6 or 7 new companies from the UK to come to the show, and they saw an opportunity maybe to get on the shelves where the bourbon was, and maybe get some of their products recognized in Canada. So I guess we zigged when you had to zag, and we've managed to have 440 products back at the show. And last year we had 443. So in product count, we're about the same, but obviously we don't have the bourbon.
Do you miss the bourbon?
Absolutely. Last year, 33% of our sales were bourbon whiskeys, and they have been working really hard over the last 10 years coming up here, investing heavily with brand ambassadors and putting on master classes, educating us about bourbon, and people here really, there's a lot of really good people who love bourbon, and it's a real shame that they can't get it, and we hope it ends soon. This is not good for anybody, not for the bourbon industry in Kentucky and the United States, and it's not good for Canadian consumers. So there's nobody winning here, and we're just a byproduct of this decision that is impacting both countries negatively. And I'm hoping that the people come together and figure this out, because it's a no-win situation. Closing borders for trade is not helpful for anybody.
They replaced the usual Saturday night bourbon dinner with a Suntory-sponsored World Whiskies dinner, and found substitutes for the usual bourbon master classes. But as Frank said, the boycott opened doors for other producers to quench the thirst. Max Alexander represents the UK's Hawkridge whiskey.
We're over in Japan, we're over in India, all across Europe, and Canada's a really important market for us, especially on the whiskey front. With all that's gone on, we think we've got a really good product, a good bourbon oak product that can compete.
So the bourbon ban, or whatever you want to call it, has worked out well for you.
I believe so. Yeah, we're yet to see the fruits, but we're hopeful.
Homegrown Canadian options are also on the menu. John Sleeman & Sons makes a bourbon-style straight whiskey at its Spring Mill distillery in Guelph, Ontario, and Cooper Sleeman says it's doing exceptionally well.
People have been calling me crazy, making a bourbon in Canada. Why would you do that? Especially when you can't call it bourbon. So everyone's been calling me crazy for 6 years, and now they're saying I'm a genius. In Q1 and Q2 last year in the LCBO, we sold about 750 bottles in the first half of the year of our traditional straight whiskey. And this year we sold about 8,000 bottles in the same time frame, which has been fantastic, tough to keep up with. But the general demand has been really, really great. And it's nice for people. They go, hey, those Sleeman guys are making a bourbon-style spirit, and they have been for a couple years. And it seems to get the respect that I was hoping it would get from the customers. So we're quite happy.
How are your other whiskeys doing?
There's been a general positive movement in Buy Canadian. So all of our whiskeys have seen a real uptick in sales. It has been led by our traditional straight whiskey, that's for sure. So we've been making a high rye bourbon, but we call it high rye straight whiskey. And we've been making that for 6 years. And no one wanted it. Everyone was like, Cooper, we don't need another Canadian bourbon, 2 years ago. But this summer, everyone called going, hey, you still making that? So we've expanded that in terms of our releases. So our high rye straight whiskey is doing quite well at 48% alcohol. But our single malts have seen a rise. Our ryes have done well. So yeah, all in all, real positive.
A handful of bourbon reps were at the festival promoting their company's other spirits, such as Heaven Hill's Tim Farrell.
This is almost certainly the best whiskey festival in the country. We never miss it with Heaven Hill. And it's a wonderful opportunity normally to showcase our wide portfolio of bourbons. And in the absence of that this year, we're very fortunate at Heaven Hill to have a broad portfolio. We happen to have a tequila distillery in Mexico, the Tierra de Agave distillery, which makes Luna Azul tequila. And if we're looking for silver linings in these situations, it's kind of refreshing, fun, and different to be able to stand here and talk tequila, because it's not something we normally do.
And of course, you can talk bourbon if somebody comes up and asks about it.
I'm always happy to talk bourbon.
The festival's pop-up liquor store usually sells close to $500,000 worth of whiskey and other spirits during the 5 days of the festival, and there were concerns going into this year. I sat down with the CEO of ANBL, the New Brunswick Liquor Corporation, Lori Stickles.
Last year, about a third of your sales in the store came from bourbons and American whiskeys. Obviously, you don't have them this year. What has been the big difference for ANBL in terms of not having American whiskeys on the shelf?
Yeah, it's definitely a change for us. As you say, we had been really investing a lot of time, and we had a great relationship going with the bourbon industry in the U.S., so we had a lot of great, exciting products coming into New Brunswick, and it did drive a lot of excitement and sales. So it's been a shift. Our team really started focusing on bringing in unique spirits from the U.K., from Ireland, from Scotland. I think we had 9 countries represented this year, so it was an opportunity actually to try to explore some different products. And customers are actually responding quite well. There's not been any real pushback on the bourbon disappearing, but it definitely was a shift for us because we had been really building a lot of momentum around bourbon over the last couple of years.
You made the decision a couple of weeks ago to put the remaining bourbon inventory and American whiskey inventory on sale at one of your outlet stores. What went into that decision?
Yeah, great question. So as you know, everybody's been sitting on a lot of inventory across Canada. There was a cross-Canada kind of decision at the political level to pull the product. So we did that as well. We pulled the product back in February. So we've been talking a lot to government about what do we do with this product, because we own the product. New Brunswickers, should be getting the benefit from this product. So our government has been very good and progressive about a solution of how we can sell this product. So we currently have it at the Salisbury Depot store, which is in Moncton, so it's there's a lot of traffic that goes through that area. It's been interesting to see. We're up over $1 million in sales since the end of September when we put it on the shelf, and it's created a lot of excitement about that store, which has been another great positive for us because that store has been a bit of a hidden gem in our network, and a lot of people hadn't really discovered what Depot was. So it's been kind of a great way to get people excited about Depot. So the sentiment's been really good, actually. Customers, they're excited to be able to make the choice if they want to buy the product. And if they don't, they're still not negative about it being there. They're saying, we appreciate what you're doing, we're not going to buy it, or we are going to buy it. We're not getting a lot of pushback on putting it on the shelf. I think people realize we've bought it. So we're really supporting New Brunswick and getting the value back out of that product. So it's been kind of fun to see how people have reacted to it. But it's still, I don't know that we'll ever see it come back the way it was in the past. When we do get the ability to bring it back fully, it probably will be at a smaller SKU count. It won't necessarily be what it was in the past for a while, I think.
You think there'll be a long-term lagging bourbon sales because of this?
I think it'll take a while for it to come back. There was such a momentum on bourbon and such an excitement, and people have shifted a bit now, which is, they're exploring Canadian whiskies, which is a good news story. A lot of people are exploring Irish whiskies for the first time. So it's been, I think, an opportunity for people to try new things. So to your question, I don't know that we'll see it come back to its previous state for quite some time. I think it'll take a bit of time to see what that looks like.
Has there been any change in political will towards the boycott and maybe bringing stuff back?
So far in New Brunswick, there has not been any conversation around bringing it back fully. Some provinces are, have brought the products back, but within Atlantic Canada, there's really been no movement. We're probably the most progressive at this point with even selling it at all. So the other provinces in the Atlantic Canada area are actually still trying to figure out a solution to get the products back into the market, the ones they own. But buying new products, there's really been no conversation around that yet. So
that'll take a political change at the premier level, right?
Agreed, yeah. It's going to be a bigger federal political conversation, I think. So, and all indications are things aren't moving super quick on that front. So I think for the time being, we will not be buying any new American products. We'll be continuing to sell what we have in inventory.
ANBL's pop-up store sold about $375,000 Canadian worth of product shown at the festival, down from last year. People were buying 1 or 2 bottles instead of making larger purchases, largely due to the economy instead of the boycott. In the end, while festival goers lamented the loss of bourbons and other American whiskeys, the festival went on just fine without them. That's Whiskey Cast in Depth, brought to you by Glendalough Irish Whiskey.
Our story begins in the wilds of County Wicklow, the Garden of Ireland, a place where nature moves slowly and meaningfully. Some whiskies blend in. Glendalough Double Barrel stands apart. I'm Rowdy Rooney, head distiller here at Glendalough, and I personally oversee our whiskey making process from start to finish. We do things slowly, and we do them right. We start with a smooth, single-grain Irish whiskey. We age it in flame-charred American oak for soft vanilla and a honeyed depth. Then we finish it in Oloroso casks from a small bodega in Spain. Casks we season and ship ourselves to make sure the wood is still alive with character when it arrives. That kind of care gives Glendalough Double Barrel its rich layers of dried fruit, warm spice, and signature smoothness. This is a whiskey at its own pace, and it's worth every second. This is Glendalough Double Barrel, crafted to stand apart.
Let's start off the What I'm Tasting This Week department with the 2025 Special Releases edition of Lagavulin 12-year-old. This Islay single malt is finished in a combination of PX and Oloroso sherry casks and is bottled at 56.5% ABV. The nose has notes of dark fruits, baking spices, grilled citrus, and peat smoke. The taste is nice and smoky with grilled fruits, charred oak, plums, and raisins, while the finish is long and smoky with a nice underlying sweetness. I'm scoring the 2025 Lagavulin 12-year-old from the Special Releases series a 93. Next, let's look at the 40 Creek chronology that we heard about during the news. This is a blend of whiskeys from the 4 decades of Bill Ashburn's tenure as master blender, dating all the way back to 1992. It's bottled at 45% ABV, and the nose is dusty with touches of powdered sugar, fresh fruits, and a nice oakiness. The taste is rich and complex with honey, soft spices, dried flowers, and a touch of peach nectar. The finish is long with subtle spices. I'm scoring the 40 Creek chronology a 94. And finally, let's take a look at the Bowmore 21-year-old Islay single malt. It's bottled at 46.8% ABV, and it's finished in PX sherry casks after first being matured in ex-bourbon and Oloroso sherry casks. The nose is warm and honey-sweet with a gentle smokiness, heather, and dried fruits. The taste is peppery and peaty with honey, heather, dried flowers, and a touch of stone fruits. The finish is long and smooth with a kiss of smoke. I'm scoring the Bowmore 21-year-old a 93. I'll be adding these whiskeys to our searchable list of nearly 3,900 different whiskeys from all over the world. Check it out this week at whiskycast.com.
Japanese whiskey began with Shinjiro Tori's vision to reflect the true nature and spirit of Japan. The House of Suntory was founded on these principles, guided by generations of craftsmanship that have transformed time, nature, and precision into something greater than the sum of its parts. Pure waters from the mountains of Hakushu, Mizunara oak shaped by decades of patience, a blending philosophy rooted in harmony. These aren't just techniques, they're a way of thinking, a quiet pursuit of balance and depth. From Yamazaki to Hakushu to Hibiki, every whiskey is a reflection of where it comes from and the hands that shape it. House of Suntory, the founding house of Japanese whiskey.
Enjoy responsibly. Suntory Whiskey Single Malt and Blended Japanese Whiskey. 43% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2025 Suntory Global Spirits Import Company, Chicago, Illinois.
Let's open up the inbox now and see what people are talking about this week in our communities segment. With the Canadian boycott of bourbon and other American whiskeys in its 10th month now, I asked New Brunswick Spirits Festival attendees for their thoughts on the boycott.
I miss bourbon really because I like the vanilla taste, the corn coming from bourbon. I really like it, and the vast possibilities of bourbon, I miss it. So I think that it's not a good thing to stop selling bourbon in all the liquor stores in Canada. I think that the West has some, but I really like to have it back. And I don't think that the government help itself by stopping any U.S. product. It's bourbon or wine that's come from the U.S. People are not buying other stuff. So that's why I think they should stop that.
Aaron and I both come from a background where we like Canadian whiskey and bourbon as well as Scotch, but I like that there's no bourbon because it forces me to try more Scotch whiskeys, and I'm enjoying it, and I really am.
How do you think they can run a whiskey festival without any bourbons?
I think it forces people to leave their comfort zone if they're bourbon lovers, and I think part of the beauty of whiskey is trying something new. You don't know if you like it or not until you've tried it. So I think it forces people to just do something different.
How are you coping with the bourbon shortage?
Awkward. Really awkward. I love bourbon, but I don't like the current administration's position towards Canada. So I have decided, with regret, I'm not drinking bourbon. Just not. I'm not buying bourbon. Just not. It just so irritates me, the attitude towards Canada from the American government, that I've just made that decision. And it's with extreme regret. Absolute extreme regret. But you do what you have to do, and that's what I'm doing.
Do you think you'll go back to drinking bourbon once the unpleasantness ends?
Absolutely. Without any doubt. I will not only go back to drinking bourbon, I will become one of its cheerleaders again. That's what I will do. But I react very negatively to the treatment the current administration has demonstrated towards Canada.
That's in order: Caroline Dion, Tim Wiebe, and Emmett Hossack, just a few of the opinions on display this weekend. What's your take? Download the free WhiskyCast community app from your app store and join the conversation. You can also find us on social media. Look for WhiskyCast on X, Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, and Facebook. Our email address is comments@whiskycast.com. Instead of Behind the Label this week, let's close the show out with a song from the Bard of Scotch Whisky, Robin Lang. Robin performed at several master classes and dinners during the New Brunswick Spirits Festival, along with Emmett Hossack's informal Heels Party on Friday morning. A perfect time for Robin's classic sing-along song, Whiskey for Breakfast.
We all ready? I expect to hear some people joining in the chorus. I take whiskey for my breakfast to see me through the day. Just one little whiskey, it helps me on my way. Clears my tubes, thins my blood, clarifies my head. Just one little whiskey, then I go back to bed. I don't need no scrambled eggs. I don't need no bacon. A single malt is all I need to stop my hands from shaking. Now some folk love their cornflakes and others porridge oats, shredded wheat, sugar puffs, whatever floats your boat. If I have to eat grass for breakfast, this is the kind I'll choose. A little bit of barley converted into booze. I don't need no scrambled eggs. I don't need no bacon. A single malt is all I need to stop my hands from shaking. I come from the land of Calvin, the devil, and John Knox. Winter lasts for half a year, we sleep in woolly socks. But if I lived in southern lands and woke up in the sun, oh, I wouldn't need breakfast whiskey. Well, maybe just the one. I don't need no scrambled eggs. I don't need no bacon. A single malt is all I need to stop my hands from shaking. And cloudy old Bernasconi lives in San Moritz. He cleans his teeth with whiskey. He very seldom spits. He brushes, he gargles, and swallows it with glee. And then he comes down for breakfast, and he has the same as me. And I don't need no scrambled eggs. I don't need no bacon. A single malt is all I need to stop my hands from shaking. And when I go to Dufftown, I stay at the Tannock Bray. Alan keeps some whiskey in an aerosol spray. He spreads a mist of whiskey over my beans on toast. But then he squirts some on my tongue, and I like that the most. I don't need no scrambled eggs. I don't need no bacon. A single malt is all I need to stop my hands from shaking. When I go to Isla, I party all night long. Fun and drams and stories, even the occasional song. Sometimes I take breakfast before I go to bed. But if there's nothing in the fridge, well, I have another dram instead. I don't need no scrambled eggs. I don't need no bacon. A single malt is all I need to stop my hands from shaking, to stop my knees from quaking, to stop my bones from aching, to stop my skin from flaking, to stop my heart from breaking. And unless I am mistaken, I'll be dancing like a Jamaican. Oh, whiskey for my breakfast, and I'm limbo dancing all day long. Thank you.
Special thanks to Frank Scott and all of the volunteers who make the New Brunswick Spirits Festival so well run. Production support for this episode comes from the festival, the City of Fredericton, and the New Brunswick Department of Tourism. That's all for this episode of WhiskyCast. You'll find links for the stories in this episode in our show notes at whiskycast.com. That's also where you'll find the latest whiskey news, my tasting notes, the calendar of events, the whiskey photo of the week, and, of course, a complete archive of past episodes going all the way back to 2005. Get in touch with us, download the free WhiskyCast community app from your app store, or find us on social media. We're on Blue Sky, X, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook at WhiskyCast, and our email address is comments@whiskycast.com.
Food's gone, stories are flying, and everyone's laughing a little too loud. That's when Dewar's 12-year-old feels right at home. Enjoy the holidays from your friends at Dewar's.
Crafted with time, shaped by nature, perfected by generations. From Yamazaki to Hibiki to Hakushu, every drop of House of Suntory whiskey is a reflection of where it comes from. House of Suntory, this is Japanese whiskey.
Enjoy responsibly. Suntory Whiskey Single Malt and Blended Japanese Whiskey. 43% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2025 Suntory Global Spirits Import Company, Chicago, Illinois.
Whiskey Cast is a production of Cask Strength Media, copyright 2025, and comes to you each week from the charming yet regrettably dry town of Haddonfield, New Jersey. I'm Mark Gillespie, reminding you that when you drink, please drink responsibly. Thanks for listening.